Welcome to our third and fourth grade show. American Voices is a musical that features samples of American music through the decades. This year, the city of Waverly is celebrating its 150th anniversary, so we will also be spotlighting the city of Waverly, its rich history, and wonderful people that make it such a great place.
Waverly was originally known as Zeligan, which began when a railroad depot was built in 1869. It was also known as Waverly Mills and Waverly Station before adopting today's name of Waverly in 1899.
The success of those early days were due to the railroad traffic on the St. Paul and Pacific, later known as the Great Northern Railway and Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway, with the support from the settlers in Woodland and Marysville Township.
Many of the early area farmers came from French Canada and countries in Europe such as Sweden, Ireland, Germany, Prussia, Austria, and Switzerland.
These pioneers helped support the economy of young Waverly businesses, which included a post office, bank, newspapers, city hall, churches, a creamery, and a school.
There were also grain elevators, flouring mills, a sawmill, insurance agencies, hotels, livery stables, general stores, hardware dealers, furniture shops, lumber companies, bakeries, meat markets, millinery shops, and a drugstore, to name a few more. Waverly was an up-and-coming place to be.
Yeah. President Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States and one of the most colorful voices, once said, "I think there is only one quality worse than hardness of heart and softness of head."
Before Theodore Roosevelt was president, he was a member of the first United States Volunteer Academy, known forever as the Rough Riders, for indeed they were. Another favorite saying of his was, "Believe you can, you're halfway there."
A determined conservationist and a true patriot, Roosevelt became president at the start of a brand new century in the young nation called the United States of America. He encouraged people by saying, "Do what you can with what you have where you are."
By the time America was only 100 years old, it had made its mark on one of the greatest nations in the history of civilization.
Yet we only had 8,000 cars and 10 miles of paved roads, and the average worker made $12.98 a week.
Meanwhile, back in Waverly, the census taken in 1900 said there are 542 people living in Waverly. The public school enrollment in 1901 was 269 students. There are so many primary students that they need to rent space from the village hall to have enough classrooms. The public school building was destroyed by fire in 1905, but they rebuilt a 2-story brick building that was used until 1971.
Yes, the city of Waverly was growing for sure. Telephones were introduced in 1904, city water in 1907, and electricity was added in 1914. The Luna, Waverly's very first movie theater, was opened in 1914. According to the Waverly Tribune, there were 70 businesses operating in Waverly.
Baseball in Wright County was a big summer attraction, creating rivalry between towns.
That's right, baseball was a popular thing back then, as quoted by an area citizen, worth driving your horse and buggy 25 miles to see.
President Roosevelt said, "We are the government, you and I."
Then he said, "Far and away, the best prize life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing."
And finally he said, "I am only an average man, but by George, I work harder at it than an average man."
That was the character in 1901. As America turned into a new century, the world was turning into a place where everybody wanted to be. Or America was turning into a place where everybody wanted to be. That was the character in 1901. As America, the world turned into a new place, America was turning into a place where everybody wanted to be.
Patriotism reached new highs in 1904. The new place to be was St. Louis, Missouri for the Louisiana Purchase Exposition, more commonly known as the World's Fair.
The year is 1918 of the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month.
Extra, extra, read all about it. The war to end all wars is over. The country and the world are emerging through a rough era of war epidemic. There was even a talk against revenge against the country that started the conflict.
But President Woodrow Wilson said, peace has to be a peace of reconciliation. A peace without victory, for a victor's peace would leave a sting, a resentment, a bitter memory upon which terms of peace would rest, not permanently but only as upon quicksand.
From this idea, the League of Nations was born. President Wilson said this about America. America is not anything only if it consists of each of us, only if it consists of all of us.
Altogether, America was ready to celebrate and have some fun. So the 1920s came in with a roar and a dance that was the cat's meow.
Dancing was also great entertainment in Waverly. The Waverly Dance Pavilion hosted many dances, weddings, and events for 30 years. When it was no longer in use, the lumber from the building was to construct of the grandstand for the Ball Diamond. Road construction on Highway 12 was happening in 1928.
Extra, extra, read all about it. October 29th, 1929. Black Tuesday, Wall Street crashes, Great Depression begins.
America bent but did not break. President Franklin Roosevelt said, I pledge myself for a new deal for the American people.
Not everybody loved President Roosevelt's New Deal, but there was definitely a new feeling in the 1930s.
Construction on Waverly's New Village Hall, the Center for Community Activity, began in 1939 under the New Deal.
The city bonded $22,000 and $70,000 was received in a federal government work project labor.
The building was completed in 1940.
American rolled up his sleeves and got to work, finding happiness and satisfaction for joy, upbeat song, and dance.
World War I was supposed to be the war. World War I was supposed to be the war to end all wars, but that was not the case.
In the 1940s, World War II broke out, and the American soldiers were back on the battlefields of Europe and Asia.
Waverly supported the world effort at home like all Americans. Coffee and sugar and tire rationing were happening in 1942.
Local aircraft battles and civil defense meetings and successful blackouts were helping the war effort back home.
People were also buying war bonds to do their part.
Young women were working in factories, at home, and as nurses to support the war.
Young men were signing up in droves and being shipped all over the world as defenders of freedom and liberty.
Once again, families and friends were separated, and the loneliness of war took a toll on all Americans.
Yet it was a promise of being back together with family and friends that helped boyfriends, girlfriends, brothers and sisters, and all moms and dads, and all fellow Americans survived the pain of separation and belief in brighter days ahead.
Many servicemen and women wrote letters home saying things like, "Dear Mom and Pop, it has almost been 11 months since I last saw you, and I look at your pictures every single day and night. I read your letters over and over. It seems like this war in Europe rages on as it does in Asia, and it seems like every other part of the world.
I cannot tell you where I am, but it is cold, wet, and lonely as can be. I can't wait until the war is over and I can come home. No need to worry, Mom and Pop. I'll be home real soon."
At last, the long war was over in Europe and Asia. The men and women were coming home.
Ironically, the war was actually a boost to America's economy and hope for happy and brighter days ahead, which made America a happy and happening place to be.
American voices like the Big Bopper were heard to say, "Hello, baby. Welcome to 1959. Things are looking up. Boys and girls, World War II is over. The economy is pumping along. America is feeling good. So get your poodle skirts, slick back your hair, get your daddy's T-bird, because America's on a rock and roll."
Roosevelt. First Lady of the United States from 1933 to 1945 said, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams."
World War II hero John Kennedy became President of the United States in 1960 and challenged America to set lofty goals for its future. He is known for saying, "And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country."
This was the spirit of America in the 1950s and 60s, where the idea of a great young nation burned ever brighter. Our best ideas have always been the ones we've worked together on as a nation to bring to reality.
The common dream of a great nation was being passed from one generation to the next.
Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I still have a dream. It is a dream that is deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day my children will live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character."
The 1960s and 70s were important growing up years in this great country called America. In some ways, they were difficult years indeed.
But for those that believe in the beauty of their dreams, we also believe that after each struggle, America comes out brighter on the other side.
Back at home in Waverly, Father Cassidy directed a production of The Music Man at the former St. Mary's School in 1965. It was a grand production that drew 4,000 audience members. The building that used to house St. Mary's School is now the site of Humphrey Elementary.
Waverly also elected their first woman mayor, Alice Smith, who served in office from 1968 to 1971.
In the 1960s and 70s, there were a lot of Americans disillusioned by yet another war and what seemed to be a impossible generation gap.
Many were tired of wars overseas and cultural wars at home. America was ready for a period of peace, love, and brotherhood.
Our school, Humphrey Elementary, is named after Waverly's #1 citizen senator, Hubert H. Humphrey. Humphrey is a champion of civil rights, served as Vice President of the United States from 1965 through 1969 with President Lyndon B. Johnson.
Humphrey said it's wonderful to live in rural Minnesota, and it's an extra special pleasure to live in Lake Waverly, where the people are friendly and the countryside is so beautiful.
Woodrow Wilson said, "America lives in the heart of every man who wishes to find a region where he'll be free to work out his destiny as he chooses."
Theodore Roosevelt said, "This country will not be a good place for any of us to live in unless we make it a good place for all of us to live in."
Today, there's a new set of voices in this great big land called America.
We who stand before you are now the new American voices.
As we grow and learn from those who came before us, we add our voices up the beauty of the American song.